Hello everyone and welcome to another Zuzin session. How about that? I bet you didn't expect that shit to happen. So today we're gonna try to solve Advent of Code day 13 again. I was trying to solve it yesterday on a stream and I went over my usual 2 hours limit. I try not to stream more than 2 hours because it's getting a little bit overwhelming. And I decided to call it a day. So, and the reason why I was struggling to solve this problem is because I decided to go with a very dumb approach. So the point of the problem is actually quite simple, right? So the problem itself is rather simple. You have a sheet of transparent paper, right? So let's actually go ahead and draw it out. Just a second. So here is the sheet of transparent paper. And there are some dots on that sheet of paper. There's like a lot of dots in here. And essentially, you're given a sequence of folds that you have to perform on the paper, right? So you can fold along Y, right? So, and if you fold along Y, you're actually given a specific Y. You have to take this part of the paper and fold it over to the left, right? And that way, some of the dots will be merged and some of them will be on new places. And then you keep basically folding this thing until you run out of the sequence of folds, and then the dots are supposed to form some sort of a pattern that is the solution to the problem. So how I decided to go with the solution is basically I was trying to simulate the sheet of paper as an array of character, right? So because it's basically a grid, and I decided to simulate the whole grid, which turned the process of folding into something very, very painful. I was basically able to solve the first part, but the second part, like performing all of this sequence of folds, was actually quite unbearable. So, and there is obviously a better approach. I think the better approach would be to essentially simulate the paper on the level of the points themselves. So basically keep the set of the points, and when you perform a fold, you basically transpose the points in the set, and then you draw out the resulting pattern, and this is going to be your solution. So what I decided to do on today's sessions is basically try that approach instead of the one that I was trying yesterday. So I'm not sure I'm going to upload the yesterday's session. It was not that interesting. It was just me struggling with a very crappy approach. So let's start over, I suppose. Let me go to Advent of Code folder, and I'm going to mount my AoC. 2021. All right. So, and I'm going to remove the current thing. Do I really want to remove everything? I don't think so. Maybe I'm going to just remove only the solution, right? So the current solution. So it's a day 13. I'm going to keep the input and the sample because I think they're quite valuable. Here's the sample and here is the input. So, okay, cool. And I'm going to remove main.hc. I hope I'm in the mount folder, right? I'm going to basically copy the template. Do I have a template? I think the template is located somewhere here. So here's the template HC. All right, and I should probably rename it to main.hc. Forgot to do that. All right, so everything seems to be fresh. Everything seems to be reset. Let's go. Okay. So day 13. We need to keep track of the set of the points, so it would make sense to introduce some sort of a structure called point. Right, there is no structures in TempleOS, there's only classes, but they act like structures anyway, so who cares? And in here, we're going to have essentially X and Y, right? So, and we're going to have a set of points, essentially, right? So let's define the capacity of the region where we store the points. It's going to be points cap, and it's going to be 1024. I hope that is going to be enough. So let me try to estimate. So how many points do we have? Where is the input? Get your puzzle input. Okay, so let me copy paste this thing in here. And we have yeah, we have below 1000 points, so I think 1024 should be enough for us. And I'm going to allocate an array points. So points, it's too much to type. I think I'm going to call them PS, right? So this is the points, PS PS cup, peace cup. Yes, it's a peace cup. Okay, and then we're gonna have how many of those things we have. So PS CNT, and there we go, there we go. So the format is rather interesting, right? So you have a bunch of points in here. Oh no, so some of these things are... Does it keep the track of the cursor? So the thing that kind of worries me is that it remembers where it placed the cursor, which means that it stores an extra character in there. So let me actually confirm that real quick. I'm gonna mount AoC 2021 one more time, and I'm gonna go there. AoC, MNT, home, AoC 13, and in the input down, yeah, there we go. So here is the character. Here's the character I was talking about. So there's a very bad habit in the TempleOS. The TempleOS text editor stores the last position of its cursor within the document itself. I think I already said that multiple times, and that thing can screw you over. Really, really badly if you're like have very unstable like parsing and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm gonna quickly just remove this entire thing. I hope this character was not placed anywhere else, because you can actually have several of these characters per document, and I think TempleOS just jumps to the first one or something like that. Right, and what about the sample? And of course there's this thing in the sample as well, so let's actually keep the documents clean. So yeah. A lot of things in TempleOS can screw you over if you're not being careful enough. So, alrighty. So I hope I actually deleted everything in from the correct place, right? I hope I did. Anyway, so this is going to be 13. This is going to be main, and there we go. So how are we going to do all of that? I think we're going to basically parse until SV size is greater than 0, right? SV size is greater than 0, and the first character in the input is not equal to the new line, right? Because the sequence of points is separated from the sequence of folds with a new line. So if we take a look at this thing, yeah, so here's the simple sequence of points, and then here's the sequence of lines, right? And the first symbol in here is the new line. That means we reached the end of the sequence of points. All right, so the first thing we want to do, essentially, we want to read the x of the first point. So we're going to use SV chop I64, and we're going to chop it off of the input right there. And this thing should return x, which we can assign to PS CNT x. There we go. So this is the first one. After that, we have a comma, which we want to chop off. So we're going to do chop left, which chops a single character out of that. So then we have PS CNT y, SV chop I64. And then we have a new line, which we also want to chop off of this entire thing. And after that, we're going to increment PS CNT. Right, there we go. So that way we are reading all of the points into a set. And then we want to print something like D points red. D points red, and I'm going to actually provide the how many points we read. So we're currently reading the sample, so let's take a look at this thing. It does not compile, of course. Thank you very much. 25, the line 25. So PSXY, so what it was talking about? So missing expression semicolon. Did I? Okay, so I don't know where I forgot the semicolon. Is that because it's not called SV chop I64, or is it called something else? So it complains about .y, but it doesn't complain about .x, right? So there's something wrong in here, and I literally can't see what. So if I comment out this specific line, will it work? It still doesn't work. It just complains about commented outline. All right, so okay, so if I comment out this thing, what if I comment out everything in the inside of the body of the while? And it kind of, okay, so it basically worked, but it hang. All right. Oh, I think I know what the hell is going on. So for the SV chop left, I forgot to provide the arguments, so I have to do something like SV. TempleOS, compiler parse error at, like, yeah. Okay, I'm already tired of complaining about that, but TempleOS is quite often not gonna tell you at all. Right, and we read this amount of points, right? 820025, and the reason why we read so many points is because I did not zero initialize the counter. There we go. So let's zero initialize the counter, and we have 30 points, which is rather interesting. Is that really 30 points? It's kind of sus, not gonna lie. So there should be no 30 points. Though maybe there is 30 points in here. Is that 30 points? Because this is just a sample, right? So this is just a sample. And how many points we have in here? We have 18 points. So this is not particularly correct in my opinion. So we might as well also print those things. Let's go ahead and do that for I equals 0, I less than PSC and T, plus plus I, there we go. So this is going to be X, D, XD, D, PSI, X, PSI, Y, there we go. And of course, something went wrong in here. So what exactly do we want? So it wants, oh, because I forgot to allocate the I variable, of course. I64I, and there we go. So, and some of them are kind of weird. So I didn't think that's the thing in here, you see? Because, yeah, that's definitely, so it actually went over. It went overboard, that's for sure. So yeah, so it didn't really stop in there, which is kind of strange. So in a sample, I would assume that there is only like a new point in here, but apparently there was no point in here, which is, this is really strange. So it didn't stop in here. It really didn't stop. So let me see what we can do about that. So we can also try to print the first character that we encounter in here every time, because I want to just see what is it. Oh, I know what's going on. Yet again, TempleOS being TempleOS, not telling me that I'm comparing U8 with the pointer to U8. And now we're at precisely 18 points. Okay, so, all right, thank you so much. Cool, very, very cool. Okay, we read all of the points, and one of the things I probably want to do, I want to maybe render all of those points. So to render all of these points, I probably need to have the canvas, right? So let's allocate the canvas. As far as I know, if I remember correctly, the range of all of these points is essentially from 0 to like 2000s. So let's actually do something like, so how should I call canvas? I don't want to call it canvas because it's too long to type. So maybe I'm going to call it CVS pharmacy capacity, and we're going to have like 2048. So this is the CVS capacity, right? I64 CVS capacity by CVS capacity, right? And this is basically where we're going to put all of that. So, and the next thing I want to do, I want to render render points. Let's call it render PS. And what I would expect from this function is just like render this entire thing. So also I would like to have like, I would like to know the boundaries of the points, like minimum and maximum. But maybe not. Maybe I only need the minimum because I'll need to translate the points to the coordinate of CVS. But I also will need like actually whole thing. So yeah, let's implement a function that basically returns the boundaries of the points, right? The boundaries of the points. So how should we do that? So boundary PS. So thinking about it, maybe yeah, maybe we're gonna accept a point minimum, right, and point maximum, and this is where we're gonna store all of that information, right? So this is a minimum x and minimum y, and then maximum x and maximum y. Right, so though it's usually like, yeah, it's a rectangle, so we might as well do p1 and p2. Let's call it min and max. Okay, so first thing we want to do, we want to initialize all of this stuff. So minimum is going to be I64 maximum, then minimum y. Both of them are going to be actually maximum. I64 maximum. Then we're going to have max x I64 minimum, and then max max y I64 minimum. There we go. And we probably want to pre-allocate some of the variables, right? Because we're going to be iterating through this entire stuff. So let's allocate the counter, and for I equals 0, I less than points count, right? So we're iterating to all of the points. And for the minimum x, we're going to do minimum x, minimum I64 between that thing and whatever point we have in here, right? There we go. So this is basically that. And now we have to probably copy paste this thing. And I wonder if I can just quickly replace x with y, replace within this selection, boom, boom. It didn't really do that. Okay, so because the last one was not the arrow. All right, that's fine. That is totally fine. So I'm going to copy paste this thing, and then I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to replace min with max. Boom, 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 boom. Almost. We also have to replace the capital one, right? So this is going to be the max, but I'm going to do that manually. All right, cool. Very, very cool. So, and that is basically it, I think. I think that is basically it. Let's go ahead and actually implement that. So we're going to have point min and point max. And then I'm going to do boundary ps min max. And before rendering anything, let's just print the boundaries, right? So x is going to be from the range from here to here. So it's going to be min x and then max x. All right, and y is going to be this thing. And then max y, min y, max y. There we go. So, and after we read everything, I want to do something like render ps just to see the boundaries, and something went horribly wrong. I wonder what exactly went horribly wrong and where we started to actually fail. Right, if I uncomment it. Okay, so it fails somewhere here. It fails somewhere here. Does it... Did I break it somehow? I might have actually broke it by introducing like something in a sample. I think that's basically what happened. Please don't tell me. No, it is not. This is so annoying. All right, so. This is really, really sus. CNT, and I'm gonna put like a new line in here. And it just basically loops forever. It simply loops forever yet again, and I don't really remember where I managed to break this entire thing. Okay, so what is going on? It's just like I'm not even doing anything. I'm gonna uncomment part, comment part. Okay, something broke within TempleOS already. Right, because I'm not even calling any code and I'm trying to run it and it just like freezes. And then I can quit the task. I have no idea what is going on, but I'm gonna quit the TempleOS, I'm gonna start it again. Alright, so 13, I'm gonna go back here, and if I'm gonna try to run it, it still happens. Why the hell it happens? What the hell am I doing in here? That causes this entire thing to loop forever. Like, I don't think I'm doing anything. I'm not even calling part one or anything that can cause that. All right, so what if I go ahead and comment literally everything in here? Okay, so that seems to be working. So what if I comment, okay, what maybe something within the common HC actually causes this behavior, right? So, all right, so it's not that. Let's slowly sort of bring in things. Okay, that's not that. So at some point, something here causes it to freeze. Okay. All right. So it kind of complains about not being able to compile this thing. All right. The fuck? Wait. Just a second. Okay. Unused variable I. That is cool. Well, which is not true, by the way. Right, in part one. Well, in part one, it is true. Okay, so I'm gonna remove this thing, and then, so this thing is commented out, and now if I try to uncomment this code, it freezes the whole operating system. It freezes it. And it's not even calling it. I suspect that it breaks the compiler. Okay. So what if I comment something within the body? What if I comment out the whole body? All right, so cool. Let's slowly start uncommenting things in here, right? Okay, so that's fine. Is it failing somewhere here? All right, it is not failing in here. Is it failing on one of those things? Invalid class. Oh, they're not pointers. Okay, they're not pointers, but why did that freeze the whole compiler? Why would it freeze the whole compiler? Okay, that freezes the whole compiler, and then if I replace arrows with the dots, right, if I replace the arrow with the dots, that's fine. If I use this thing instead of compilation error, it freezes the whole operating system. I cannot move, I cannot do anything. I need a break. I need a break to actually digest what the hell just happened. So yeah, see you in 5 minutes or so. I forgot to unmute myself. All right, I've got an idea. What if we try to come up with a minimal reproducible example? So just a second. So I'm gonna go to here, and it's going to be ed bug HC. There we go. So in here we're gonna allocate the class, define the class, not allocate, point i64xy, and in here we're gonna have something like u0 foo. Right, and I'm going to simply allocate a single point in here, something like maybe min, and I want to be able to just print whatever I have there, right? So let me see. So it's going to be x. Can I just do it like this? Min x. So it doesn't really reproduce that. What if I have several of these things? No, not really. So if I have something like this, can't reproduce that. Can't actually reproduce that. So maybe I have to do it exactly as it is here. Right. Can I actually reproduce this thing if I don't have boundary PS? I can. That is very cool. So this means that the whole thing can be reproduced like this. So let me take a look at the bug. So here it is, render PS. I'm gonna remove that, I'm gonna remove that, and I'm also removing this thing. So if I try to run this thing, oh, okay, this is because like I cannot do it like that. Invalid class. So it's totally in here. It is totally fine. But in that file, it is reproducible. Is that because I have this thing lying around? I can't reproduce it anywhere else. I cannot come up with a small reproducible example for this thing. Okay, so what does it say? Invalid L value at PS count. All right, so I'm gonna try to keep that in mind. So let me know if you can reproduce this bug on your side, but this is a really weird bug. I don't even know what could cause that. Well, yeah, so obviously I'm writing incorrect code, but even for the incorrect code, I expect a compilation error at least, not hanging the whole operating system, right? So that's kind of weird, not gonna lie. So let's move on. So it's kind of difficult to come up with a small reproducible example. I'll try to look into that after the session. Okay, so it does not print anything for whatever reason. Let me see, unused variable I in here, which is fine. So this is a boundary minimum, boundary maximum. I'm passing everything like this, and it doesn't print anything. So is it yet again a bug? Is this a bug, or is this a divine intellect? I don't really know. It doesn't call this function at all. So if I do something like hello, right? Oh yeah, of course. I forgot, of course. Right. So finally we have the boundaries, okay. Thank you, Templeware. Very, very cool. I really appreciate your help. Okay, that is nice. So essentially now at least I know the boundaries, right, of this entire thing. And I can use those boundaries. So let's actually calculate width and height of the thing that I need to print or like render and stuff like that. So the width is going to be essentially maximum x minus minimum x, right? I hope it can actually parse that, so I'm going to just separate it just in case. And it's actually going to be +1, right? So because if you have two coordinates like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the minimum is 0, the maximum is 5. You subtract maximum from minimum, minimum from maximum. 5 minus 0 becomes 5, but it's not equal to the whole length of this entire thing. The whole length is 6, so you have to add 1. Right, and for the height, we're going to do a similar thing. So the height is going to be max y minus minimum y plus 1. Okay, cool. So now I want to try to iterate through all of the points and just fill them in accordingly. But I think first thing I need to do, I need to memset the whole CVS, right? So I'm going to memset the whole CVS to 0, size of CVS. So I don't have to worry about this stuff. And then I'm going to start iterating through all of the points. So for that, I'll have to allocate I. So this one is going to be 0, less than PSCNT plus I. And in here, we're going to do CVS PSIY, because it's rows, right? So first is the row, then PSIX. There we go. And we're going to make it equal to, let's say, 1. Right, we're going to make it equal to 1. So after that, I should be able to just iterate through the entire canvas and just print it on the screen. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's allocate some variables that will make it easier to do so. Though, I forgot quite an important thing. So I need to offset all of these coordinates with the minimum. So it's going to be minus minimum y, right? So because I need to offset them for the canvas. Minus minimum x, right? I hope that's fine. Cool. So let's start iterating. Y equals 0, y less than height, plus y. And in here we do x equals 0, x less than width, plus x. So then we're gonna have a new line, and after that we're gonna have a character. Though, yeah, let's do it like this. It's gonna be CVS y x, and if it's true, we're gonna print this thing. Otherwise, we're gonna print maybe dot. I think it makes sense to actually print dot in there. And if I try to do that, it's that bug again. It's that weird bug again, which kind of makes me worried. So if I can comment this thing, all right. What is it yet again? This compiler is haunted. Okay. Yet again, something breaks within the compiler in here. Oh, yet again, I'm trying to use min and max as the pointer. I should not use them as pointers. And that breaks the shit out of the compiler. Okay, I will know. So the next time something is hanging, I will know that this is because I accidentally like referring to these things as pointers rather than the values. Right, can I use that now? Okay, so at least it's complaining now. Let me see. So it's going to be 45. And in here, it doesn't have I or something like that, PSCNT. Excuse me, sir, I do not understand what you're trying to tell me. So usually it says that missing something when I don't have a variable defined for that, which is not true. I have an I defined for this thing. What do you want from me? Oh, I know, I forgot to close parent in here. All right, cool. 46, just a second, 46, there we go. So this is a 46, and what is it saying? Oh yeah, I have an extra dot in here. I have an extra dot. Finally, this seems to be working, and now I should be able to do this thing, and finally I have this thing rendered. My god. Finally, I have this thing rendered. I'm so happy. You won't believe how happy I am. Holy shit. So is that the same thing though? It seems to be like the same thing. Okay. Okay. So now we need to actually iterate through the folds. Right. Though we need to perform only a single fold, right? We need to perform only a single fold. Let me see. So I'm gonna go into the sample, and the fold that we're doing is along y, right? So we are given a particular y, yeah. So let's maybe define a function along y. U0 fold along y, and we're gonna provide I64 I0y. Okay. So, and we probably will need a similar thing, but for the x. Right, we'll need a similar thing, but for the x. So this is going to be fold x. Okay. So according to the first solution, we'll have to fold only once, but we already solved first part. Right? I already solved first part. So maybe I'm going to go for the second one, or maybe for the first one. We'll see. Okay, so here we have just a new line, meaning that the only thing I need to do is a sv chop left to remove that new line, and we are ready to parse the rest of these things, right? Sv size greater than 0. So, and in here we need to skip a couple of things. And those things are going to be fold along, right? So we have a couple of useless words in here. Where is that stuff? Let me see. Yeah, fold along. We need to skip them. Okay, so SV chop by delimiter, right? So we chop in SV and the delimiter is space, and we're going to be chopping that into the thing that we're skipping. So this is basically fold, right? So this is the fold, and then SV chop by delimiter, SV skip along, right? So, and then the first character of SV should contain X or Y. So let's switch on SV begin 0, all right? And in here, we're gonna do the following thing. If the case is Y, we're gonna do one thing. So we need to chop by delimiter yet again, right? SV chop by delimiter SV to skip this entire thing, right? So we're essentially skipping Y, right? So we essentially skipping Y in here. Then SV is going to contain a number which we want to actually like a read or something. So let me maybe allocate a variable into which we're going to be reading all of that. I64n, right? So here's I64n, and n equal SV chop I64 SV, and that is it, I think. So, and in here what we have to do, we just have to call fold along Y, along Y, so we're going to provide the n in here. Cool. So, and we have to kind of repeat this thing the second time, which I'm not really big fan of. For some reason, that the fact that we're repeating this thing pisses me off, but it is what it is, and it isn't what it isn't. So here is going to be along X. One of the things we can do maybe is have something like axis, right? And in here, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do a slightly different thing. Right, so we're going to store the axis in here, so SV begin 0, right? And that will enable us to do the following thing, to essentially compress these two switch case branches. That's what I'm going for. I'm trying to compress these branches. Right. So let's take a look at how compressible they are. Aren't they compressible? I think they are compressible pretty much. So this is axis. So after that, we also chop this entire thing by delimiter. So it's not, it shouldn't be space, I think, for that one. Right, it shouldn't be, it should be equals. It should be equals. So after that, SV, according to my calculations, should contain just a new line, right? And we wanna chop left that line out of that SV. All right, so what I'm thinking is that we're gonna just go ahead and print all of this information, right? So it's gonna be fold along Y equal this thing, and this is gonna be Y0, and this one is going to be fold along X, X0, there we go. And I'm gonna try to run this entire thing, and it does not work, which is fine for a compiled language. So this one has to be actually SV. All right, so undefined equals for axis something something. So is that because didn't I allocate all of that, or did I accidentally remove this thing yet again? I remember allocating this stuff. Okay, so it doesn't print the new lines, so let's quickly print new lines in here. Just a second, and we have along 7 and along Y, which is not correct for X, I suppose. Or is it? Because, yeah, here is the bug. Here is the small bug in here. Let me see. So along Y7 and along 5. Okay. And that seems to be correct for the sample, right? So that seems to be correct. Y7 and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool. So for the part one, by the way, for the part one, what we want to do, we want to essentially only like break, only fold once, right? Okay. So fold along Y. What we can do essentially is just iterate through all of the points and just fold everything along that line. Should be relatively straightforward. Some of the points will become the same, but I don't think I'm going to actually spend any time trying to get rid of the duplicate points, because when I'll try to render them out, they're going to be basically illuminated in the canvas, right? So essentially the render PS, in case of the same points, will just draw a point in like several times, so it does not change the picture at all, right? So we don't even have to worry about that, I think. So yeah. So I can just like iterate through the points, through all of the points, and create duplicates as much as I want. It may slow down the program, but we have less than 1,000 of the points. So a single fold is just iterating only 1,000 of times, which is for modern computers is literally nothing, right? So I can safely do that. So there's nothing to worry about. There's no reason to implement some sort of complicated sets or some complicated ways to eliminate duplicate points. Just keep the duplicates there, right? It's just my approach. I don't know. So in a more high-level languages, you probably just use the set and it will do that for you automatically, but we're programming in TempleOS. There's nothing much you can do about that. All right, so, and let's iterate through all the points, PS, C, and T, plus I, right? And in here, we are going to grab the point, right? So it's rather interesting. Just a second. So we're starting to talk about Y. So here is Y0. If the point less than Y0, it's not going to be modified because we're folding upwards. Right. So if the point located in here, you don't really want to modify it. You only want to modify it if it's located here, which basically means that it's greater than Y0. It's never going to be equal by the definition of the problem, right? So I suppose there are two cases in here. When the current Y is less than Y0, in that case, we don't touch that point at all. And if it's greater than Y0, in that case, we have to mirror it. Okay. So if PS Y is greater than Y0, only then we want to do something with it, right? Only then we want to do something with it. And the question is what we want to do with it. Essentially, we want to find the offset from the Y0 to Y2. And it's going to be basically minus Y0. And we want to offset that thing here, which means that we have to take this offset and subtract it from Y0 again, and this is basically the new Y, Y2 prime. Right, so that's essentially what we have to do. So PSIY is going to be equal to Y0 minus PSIY minus Y0. There we go, and that is basically it, I think. Isn't it? I think it is. All right, so yeah, and I can do a similar thing for X, right? And for the X, it's going to be like symmetrical, right? So we're only going to do that for X. So this is going to be X0, and X in here is just like this, right? So this is going to be just like this. Since we're doing only one single iteration, right? So we're doing one single iteration, I want to break out of the loop after the first iteration and just like render everything. Render PS after a single fold. Okay, so this looks like the thing after the first fold, right? So it kind of does look like the thing after the first fold. We can actually let it go until the end and we'll get the square. Okay, so we've got the square, which is cool. But I want to confirm that the first part works correctly. So let's actually see if the first part still works correctly. We need to count all of these things, right? So to be fair, to count them with this current approach, we need to render them. So I suppose counting and rendering is going to be literally the same thing. So I'm going to just return the count in here. Right, so let me allocate the count like that. And if we encounter the point, right, we're going to be incrementing the count. So it's going to be count plus plus. Then we do that. Otherwise we do that. So, and in here the part 1 is going to be essentially part 1 D, like that, and there we go. Boom, and it didn't compile because let's go to 54. I forgot a semicolon. Okay, so, and did it print anything? I didn't think it printed anything useful. Okay, it's so bad. I forgot to put a new line. Right, I simply forgot to put a new line. All right, so it's 160, and is that 100? Well, what are you talking about? It's not 160. Did I forget to zero out the count? No, I didn't. All right. Okay, what the hell is going on? What? So just a second. I64 count render PS, right? And then I just do count, right? And it says 160, which is quite worrying, right? It doesn't even look like 160, right? Of course, like if you look at this thing in here. So what is going on? Let's find out. Because I never returned it. Thank you, TempleOS. Very cool. Okay, 17. And according to the actual thing in here, was it 17? Was it 17? I don't know. I don't see it though. It was 17. Okay, cool. And if I switch to the actual input, right? So I'm gonna do it like that. That was a bad idea. It's 695, and it is actually correct. Okay, so that's cool. That is cool and all. Though for the first part, we should probably not render that. So to be fair, I don't know. I don't really know. So when you try to get the count, maybe you don't want to print that, but whatever. So let's go to the part 2. So for the part 2, I'm going to basically copy paste this entire thing, right? So the part 2 should be really, really simple. You just let it go as much as needed, right? Just let it go. Let it go. Sorry, please don't DMCA me. All right, so this is going to be, I don't even need to do that, all right? And the only thing I need to do in here is just like render everything and get rid of that. All right, so we're looking at the sample. This is part 2, and in the sample we should get a square, but we didn't. 166. 166, and it still doesn't work. So oh, I forgot that I have 2 part 1s. Okay. This is a square. Okay. According to the description, if we do all of the folds on the paper, right, we should get the some sort of a code that we have to enter into the form. That looks like a code, right? GJZGLUPJ. Okay, so to make it maybe a little bit more readable, I think I'm gonna actually replace these dots with a space, right? So that made it slightly more readable. So, and also let me actually zoom in. So does it contain a... Let me restart improvise. Just a second. I hope I didn't lose much progress. I hope, please. Please tell me I didn't lose much progress. Please. Please. Okay. I'm not gonna touch that. I'm not gonna even breathe at this thing. Okay. G, J, Z, G, Z, G, L, U, P, L, U, P, J. And is it gonna be first try? Bam! There we go. This is supposed to be an easy problem after a series of more difficult problems, because obviously things like you know, DFS over a graph, like with really weird rules, is more complicated than that. And also, you know, Dumbo Octopus, where you have to simulate this weird cellular automaton, which is not really cellular automaton, but it was interesting nonetheless. These things are more complicated than this one, but TempleOS, my god, okay, I guess we did it. And even the bugs in the HolyC compiler didn't stop us to solve this problem. All right, I guess that's it for today. Finally, I managed to solve that despite all of the problems I had. Thanks everyone who's watching right now. I really appreciate that. Have a good one, and I see you on the day 14. Love you all.